amazing ladies in business. Welcome to the HerStory podcast. I am your host, Kylie King, the founder of Australian Ladies in Business Initiative. And I am so excited today to be joined by the incredible Maha Dunne from Luxe Memories Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for the invitation, Kylie, and for this opportunity to speak about what we do.
So, for the listeners who may not have seen you in the community yet, can you tell us a bit about you and what you do?
Lux Memories was born out of a promise I made to my mum to do this very kind of work because she could see how much it meant to me. And I was, as far as she was concerned, I was just faffing around the peripheries and not really jumping in and doing what she could clearly see lit me up. What we do is we help families and busy families and individuals who just don't have the time to make photo books of their own, and we take their images. It could be a family trip, it could be a milestone birthday, it could be a family history book. We take your images, put them all together, and weave out a beautiful photo book printed on high quality paper with beautiful high quality covers as finishes. So basically we take all of the organization, the time and curation of photos, all of that, we take that off your hands and we just make the book for you, and hopefully something that you will enjoy for many years to come.
And you mentioned it was your mum that sort of gave you a bit of a kick up the backside to get started.
Well and truly. Yes, mum was in residential care at the time, and as anyone knows who has had to help a parent into residential care, sometimes the biggest heartbreak is distributing the contents of the home. So she, of course, knew that I would take the photographs. They were Dad's legacy. Dad was always, always, always with a camera in front of his face. You never ever saw him without a camera hanging around his neck. But so I was the custodian then of all of those photos. And Mum said, "So what are you going to do with them?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. What do you think I should do?" And she said, "Well, get all the photos and make the books." So, and by that, she meant start doing what you really love doing. So, in the following few months, Mum became more ill. And after she passed away, I registered Lux Memories in her honour.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think it's like your mum said, get them into books is so important because these days we take so many photos with our camera because it's so much more accessible now. It's
Yeah.
not like the older days or previous times where you'd buy like the little disposable camera or that little film camera and you'd have to take the photos, line
Yeah.
up the perfect shot, then go get them developed and then go, oh wow, that's really blurry. What a missed opportunity. And by that time it's been weeks and weeks after your
Months,
holiday. Like
months
it's
even if
it's
you had a
done.
months even if you had a roll of film and you only took half a dozen at an event, and then a couple of months down the track you've still got the film in the camera, you take some more, you take it to the chemist as you said, or wherever, and get them developed, and you think, oh my goodness, that wasn't the perfect shot. What do I do now? Yeah, so we do take an enormous amount of shots, photos now. We're into the trillions per year worldwide. However, the urgency that I feel is encouraging families, number one, to digitize their legacy photos, their printed photos. As time goes on, they will become more and more, they'll become more fragile due to weather conditions. I've got this lovely background behind me because it's a photo that we took in Bowral and I love the shot. But right behind me are my photos. They don't go in a garage. I don't put them in an air conditioned room. They live where I live, and basically that helps them, helps the photos to not deteriorate. So my encouragement to all our listeners and all our viewers is to put your photos. Firstly, there are certain types of storage media that are better than others, and I can create a cheat sheet for you. But also, the big thing is the big change in temperature conditions, and more importantly, for the black and white photos, they're getting more and more fragile every year, and they really need taking care of. And I would strongly advise that you put those kinds of photos, if possible. I know it's not always possible, but if possible, in an environment where you are, like a comfortable temperature environment.
And especially we do live in Australia, so we have a lot of things that happen where we've had a lot of
Yes,
floods lately in different parts in
yes,
Hawkesbury and up and down New South Wales, bushfires, you know, all these different sort of things that happen where we could lose, or not even just big events like bushfires and floods, like even all the rain we've had recently. I've noticed a lot of things like mold is creeping into certain things and people's photos and their legacies. So it is very important to, yeah, digitize them or at least get them somewhere, because unfortunately, once those photos are gone, they're very hard to get back. You'd have to take them to a professional who might be able to restore them, but it doesn't mean they'll be able to restore them to what they once were.
that's correct. They can't always restore them depending on the amount of damage, and it may not be cost effective for you. Restoration is quite expensive at times, depending on what they have to do for you. But digitizing them, at the very least, I know that, I know a lot of people have iPhone libraries and their Android libraries, and they're for their digital photos. They're great, but the world's best practice is to have three copies of your photos. One in the cloud, if you can stand to have it in the cloud. Some people don't like that idea, but so one copy off site is the standard. So that's where the cloud comes in, or you put them into a storage place that hopefully is air conditioned, and then two other copies on different types of media, like one on a hard drive, one on your computer, like an external hard drive, and one on your computer. So the that spreads the risk of your photos. Always, you always having a copy of your photos.
And I think it's also important to remember, you mentioned iPhone libraries and Android libraries. It's all good to take, those millions of photos, but you need to also have them backed up, even if they're on their phone, because I know I've seen in like Facebook community groups where, mamas have had either their phone stolen or the phone's gone in the toilet or a toddler's
Yes,
done something with it or something has happened, and that phone has all the photos, and some of the phones have photos for years. Like, you got the phone when you had the baby and you've got the whole progression of that child on the phone.
that's right.
So it's important to also back up. Make sure you're backing up regularly, because if not, one toddler dip in the toilet and you've lost everything.
That's That's right, absolutely right. That's the single point of failure, if you want to call it that. Although, as I mentioned, iPhone do tend to do that backup automatically, but you have to be aware that it's not strictly a backup. iPhone, um, if you delete a picture on your phone, it deletes it in the library as well. So to have a true backup of your photos, you would download your photos monthly and put them on a hard drive. And that's the only way that you'll be able to ensure that you haven't deleted any important photos. It's important to understand the workings of your devices. And there's a lovely lady online, Alison Lee. She's a photographer and a mum. And at one stage, I believe her personal story, and she does tell it online, so I'm not speaking out of turn. Her story was that she found out she had a tumor on her brain, and it really focused what she had to do. She had a library of obviously thousands of photos, being a photographer. So basically, what she did was she organized all of those photos into a chronological library and made dozens of books in the time that she was recovering from her operation. She had to go into an operation fairly quickly, but that didn't but she was still feeling vulnerable. So she thought the best thing to do was to organize all the photos, make the photo books. So her children had a printed representation of their time together. So why I told that story, Alison also teaches mums, anybody who, and grandmas, usually she has a class full of women, because I think women find it incredibly important to keep the family history. So Alison teaches all of her students how to organize their digital libraries, how to get the printed or scanned copies of printed photos on there, and then you've got everything organized, and at the click of a button you can use the metadata in the background, the naming of all the photos, like what year, who's in them. You can use those details to bring up a subject matter, like for instance a family road trip or something, and just curate all of those photos into one folder to make a photo book. So that's the benefit of photo organization.
Beautiful. So, say that I am way too busy to put a book together. I haven't got time. I don't know how the platform or the software works. Is this where Lux Memories Australia comes in? Is this the work that you do?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I have done that for so many of my clients who just didn't want to. Like, not only if you're very, very busy, but some of my clients just didn't want to go onto the platform, learn how it works, create a book. There's an awful lot of time that goes into the preparation in producing like a story, having a storyline there. So that's what we do. We gather all of your photos into a particular folder. Next thing I do is I have a look at all of them. I try to put them into a timeline using a naming convention, like a file name. And and then I will also ask, sometimes I'll ask questions. Oh, on this day, this photo seems to have this and this person there. What's the story behind that? Or I'll ask, do you have photos of those old sneakers that your son used to wear incessantly? Or just things like that. So what I will do is try and extend the story to include images of beloved items like pieces of jewelry, or things around the house that the kids always use, like their favorite pool or anything like that. So basically, we are the storytellers on your behalf. We take the photos, we curate them, and then put them into a suitable folder, and then start weaving the story for you. After that, there's a first draft meeting online so that I can show you exactly what the book looks like. From there, we take notes for any edits that need to be done. And after that, we do the second edit, and we have to make sure that all name spellings, everything is correct. Because I do put a couple of lines here and there to help add information to the stories, because these stories are going to be passed down to your future generations. And although all of you know the information now, in future, like for instance, for a wedding album, your future generations might not know who those people were that were your bridesmaids and groomsmen, etc. So I always include the names of the lovely people in your bridal party. So, and that's just for family records. So after that, as I said, we do the first edit, I make the edits, we do the second meeting, we have a second meeting, ensuring all is right, the storyline and the names, and then we go to print. And we have a variety of different kinds of papers that we can print on, lusters, matte ivory paper, beautiful archive paper for perhaps a special wedding album. Um, and then there is everything from leather to linen to photo covers, anything that you may choose of those options. A lot of people are making their own photo books these days, so they'll know that there are a wide range of finishes. But yeah, that's what we do. We choose the final finishes on the second meeting, at the second meeting. And then the excitement starts to build as to when the book arrives.
Beautiful. Wow. It sounds like a beautiful process, though, to finally have
It,
the story then in a hard copy. And what's important about a book is that it's there. Anyone can pick it up, even if it sits on the bookshelf for quite some time. Anyone can come later on and pick it up and explore this story. And we're less likely to throw out a book.
absolutely.
So most people are less likely to throw out books. So, as a businesswoman, Maha, so you've been running the business for quite some time. So, as a businesswoman, what would you say so far has been your biggest challenge in running a business?
Oh, for me personally, undoubtedly the fear of failure. Overcoming my fears has been the biggest thing. And it's been a real journey for me. And without a doubt, joining the ALIBI team of wonderful ladies and the support I've received in the last couple of years has exponentially added to my confidence and ability to move forward in promoting the business. Before it was, I was keeping it quiet and it was more or less word of mouth. Um, I was still doing projects that I absolutely loved, uh, but if I'm to grow the business, I know that I have to overcome my fears, get my website up. At the moment, I'm operating on my Facebook page, so get all of my online presence up, and just get the word out. But the biggest challenge for me has been overcoming my fears.
Beautiful. And if we flip that, then what would you say has been your biggest achievement?
Moving forward, and things like having the confidence to register and trademark the business in anticipation of growth, and starting to get all of my systems and processes in the background. Again, thanks to you, Kylie. In this last summer, we've done a whole series of lessons or sessions on business digital presence and contracts and processes and all sorts of things. I've gained so much knowledge during our January summer sessions. I've got a lot of work to do in the background, but that's the kind of thing that gives me confidence to move forward. Having 20 or 25 years in corporate world, corporate organizations, the thing that they had in the background was the systems and processes already set up. I didn't know what I didn't know. So what's the best way to organize the business? What are the best systems to use? What are the legalities about what you can do and what you can't do? All of those questions were playing on my mind and adding to my fears, I suppose. And as I said, just recently doing those lessons has given me an incredible amount of confidence to move forward.
Right. As you mentioned too, what a beautiful achievement to actually just register the business and going for a trademark. That's big because that's a lot more fuss than it generally needs to be. Because that's really saying this is the brand I'm going to stand by. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit boring. It's the boring end of business admin, all of that legal stuff. But it's just so important for your reputation. And if there's anything I learned in my years in corporate roles, reputation is what your foundations are built on.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But yeah, I do know that the trademarking process, because Alibi is going through it at the moment, it
Yes.
can be a bit like it's a very long process. And then it's making sure like you love that logo and you love that name, because once you go through the process, you're like, I'm not changing it and then going back through this.
Yeah, it does help that you have a future vision of the business and that you are happy with the logo. Because yes, you can make some changes, but they're all costly. And if you want to make changes, you're going to have to ensure that there's return on investment for the money that you're going to have to pay to do that. So, in other words, it's building the business and getting all the revenue in and everything. So, there's a lot of thought that goes into the initial parts of building and registering a business. Boring, I know, but worth it.
Well, you did mention the future vision. Like, if you're willing to share, what's your future vision for Lux Memories Australia? Like, where are you hoping to take it in the future?
My dearest hope is that Lux Memories Australia can be seen as an industry leader and the company that helps to advocate for growth of the industry. I can't make a book for everybody in Sydney, for 4 or 5 million people, but I would like to be seen as the type of person encouraging the growth of the business, because the thing that matters is our family legacies and the stories that are being told and not being told. We have so many of our beautiful elders in residential care, many of whom have a stack of photos, maybe a box or very old albums that are deteriorating. Who's looking into that for them? Who's doing anything for them? In future, it's my wish that a certain number, at least to start off with, one a month, if I can, one book a month to be created for one of our lovely elders in a residential care home, or that's my way of giving back for to preserve the legacies of all the lovely people who just haven't had the time to do anything like that themselves.
Mm. It's what a beautiful thing. I think it's so important too because everyone's journey is different and everyone's story is different. And I think it's such an important thing to share. I love hearing people's stories. So I think to get it out there and put it into print and have it there for your family so they get to know about it. I know we were talking the other day. Some people tend to forget the stories they had. Like my
Yes,
father-in-law has a lot of stories. My mother-in-law has a lot of stories. And we found out recently that they hadn't even shared some of those stories with their own kids until something had happened to spark the memory for them to go, oh, yeah, no, I used to do that when I was a kid. And I used to go to a dance studio, or I did this, or did you know my father did this for many years? And you're like, no, no, I didn't. So I think it is so important because there are these like cool bits in these pieces of your identity. Like, why did I do that? Oh, there's a story here that I wasn't aware of, or there's photos here that I wasn't. So I think everyone's story is truly important. So everyone should try and share it as much as they can. Because yeah, when we go, the stories is what's left behind. That's why
that's
we were
right.
storytellers for a long, long time. And now we have this beautiful facility where we can actually take photos to accompany the stories and put them in these beautiful books. So when we have gone, these beautiful books can stay there to continue to share the story for many generations to come.
Yes, yes, and as you mentioned a little bit earlier, there are stories of the individuals, all the mums and dads, things they did as teenagers and young adults that their kids have no concept of, because it's just, sometimes they don't talk about it, and you have to, get those stories out of them. So what I'm hoping to do is to encourage people to sit down and have those conversations. Mum, Dad, can you please tell me a little bit about where you grew up? Who are your best friends? What was your favorite meal? Um, what did you do what was the wildest thing you did? Where did you go on holiday? All of those things were sort of like everyday things for them. They didn't take the time to talk about them, and it's only when someone asks, like for instance, your mum or your grandma may have been a signal person in during the war, like they might have, taken, coding, or done coding or something like that. So it's all these amazing stories that come out that need the questions actually need to be asked and documented.
Very true. So, as the storytelling professional, the legacy professional, expert, all of this amazing stuff you're doing, what would be one tip you'd give the listeners, whether it's about their storytelling, how to preserve their photos? What's one tip that you think the listeners should have, like a taste test before they come and find you and work with you?
My biggest tip is to start being aware of where all of their photos are. We are in a time where we've got one foot in each camp of there are many printed photos still in family collections, as well as an incredible amount of digital photos now. Where are your photo collections? Start thinking about putting them all together. Um, Hopefully you can nominate a family historian, a family custodian of the photos. If not, come to us. We'll help you. But I just like people to be aware of starting to gather all of their photos so that there are no gaps in family history. So that's my biggest tip, I think, being aware of where all your photos are and starting to collect them all in one place so they can, so the hard copies can be digitized and the digital copies can be organized. They can all be organized in one spot. That's how you preserve your history, your family history.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great tip. And I know a lot of people they start to do it or they wait till the end to do it. So I teach a seniors tech class, and one of the classes that we do is getting the photos off their phone, getting them from their computer, and then they put them on USBs that they choose to then give. It's in the safe for if that time comes. There's a USB for each of the kids. So I like that whole family historian. And I think it is super important. Like if you are still listening to this podcast, you need to get the photos off your phone. Do something with them. Do something
Absolutely.
with them because your kids aren't going to look for them on your phone or, whatever happens, they might end up in the toilet. But get your photos off your phone and start doing something with them. You took time to take a million photos from different angles. Do something with them. So, Maha, where can the listeners come and stalk you?
Okay, we are currently on Facebook, Lux Memories Australia, I think it's Lux Memories AU. And Instagram. And I do have a small footprint on LinkedIn that I will use for educational purposes. But Facebook and Instagram are our main channels at the moment. And this year I'll be working towards getting the website up. But yes, so feel free to send us a message, go and have a look at the things that are on my page. And what I love to promote is any activities that might be coming up for family history, like the Society of Australian Genealogists. They usually have, I know it's a long name, but they usually have activities like how to get the best out of ancestry or this, that, and the other. And then the National Archives Association sometimes have online sessions on how best to preserve certain things like photos or artifacts or things like that. If there's anything coming up around local areas, I'll usually promote it onto the page. I love promoting the camera, um, the club competitions, just to encourage people to enter them and just for fun, because you never know, you've got to be in it to win it. And so they're the channels that you can contact us on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Maha, and sharing all about Luxe Memories Australia and the importance of getting your story out there and preserving it for your future generations and your legacy.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kylie. I hope that this has encouraged all of your viewers and followers to start thinking about their photo collections and making photo books.
Beautiful.